Hello there, everyone. It's Kathy with Paper Phenomenon. Welcome to a wonderful crafting channel. I make lots of mini albums, folios, memory keeping projects in general. My very first video was posted in 2009, so I have made lots and lots of projects. My techniques have evolved over the years, but there's a few things that I do over and over when I'm matting. So I decided to put together a top 10 matting ideas video series. For this very first video, we're going to tackle the signature cut. Why do you want to reference these videos over and over? You want these to be your go-to when you're matting, so that if you get stuck, you can say, well, maybe I can use idea 1, idea 2, idea 3 in my mini album or in my folio. This will be a place for you to go to as a rule of thumb for your matting, a guide that you can go through 1 through 10, or if you get stuck, you can just grab one. Grab an idea, apply it to your project, and done. You can keep on with the next thing. All right, so let's start with number 1, the signature cut. It's a wonderful technique that I implemented years ago, and it is just a tried and true technique. Let's take a look. Signature cuts. This is an excellent technique that you want to use whenever you're matting. The paper will tell you if you should make a signature cut or not. And what that means is you're going to cut into the design of the paper so that you can use it for a photo. As opposed, let's pretend this is a photo. As opposed to putting a photo like this and having only the border show, you create a signature cut which will allow you to still see the beautiful image on the paper and put a photo there without covering up the beautiful image. This paper right here is a better example of when a signature cut really works well. I mean, this is gorgeous, yes, but you can cover this up and it's not the end of the world, right? You still see some of the pretty florals, etc. This, you cover it up and it's the end of the world, people. I mean, why would you want to cover this up, right? So this would be another great example of when you would do a signature cut. I'm not using this paper right now in this particular project, but I'm using this one. And again, the project that I'm working on where I'm going to use a signature cut, if you're interested, is the Moving Parts Folio, Page Folio Style 2. All right, so this is the project I will be using this particular signature cut on. And this paper collection is Birds of a Feather 1, I believe. 1 or 2. They will both be linked down below. Okay, Birds of a Feather 1 and 2. So let's do it. You're going to need a knife. All right, you want to use a sharp knife. You can use a X-Acto knife, whatever knife. You can use scissors if you want. So for a good signature cut, if you need a rule of thumb, all right, because these rules are not, they're fast, right? They're hard and fast rules, I guess, as I should say. You can take this and spin this rule however you need to spin it to create a signature cut that's going to work for you. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your knife, and for me, I like to cut at least, at a minimum, 1/4 of an inch away from the edge is where I like to start it. 1/2 inch is even better, but sometimes 1/2 inch is too much, right? So 1/4 inch, no less than 1/4 inch. So I'm going to start my signature cut right here, and I'm going to cut around the image that I do not want to cover with the photo. All right, so you cut. Like so. And this takes a little bit of time depending on how intricate the image is. You can choose to cut as much or as little of the image that you want. Okay, as much or as little. Not, there is no rule here. You can do whatever you want. right? In this case, I'm going to cut as much of this image as I possibly can. I like to keep as much of it. I absolutely adore tulips. Okay, so I'm going to try to keep as much as I can. So I'm following the image, right? Whatever is super bright. I'm not going to cut into here. So I'm going to kind of skip over to this leaf over here. And cut around there. I'm not going to do, see, I'm not going to go all the way down here. I'm going to just go kind of, you know, low and then cut over here into the tulip. So these are decisions that you have to make, okay? Depends how intricate you want to get with your cut. You see this little bit of green here, right there? I'm not going to cut up there. I'm going to skip it and just go around the tulip. Right here, there's all sorts of intricate leaves. So I'm going to cut just a bit of the detail, not a lot. I'm not going to go all the way down to this purple tulip, right? Because what's going to happen, I'm going to cut a little bit thick here. What's going to happen, these are going to get beat up really bad with whatever you're putting into the pocket. Okay, so you got to be careful. I'm going to come down here to this tulip right here. So you have to evaluate what you're cutting. See this? I'm not going to cut all of that. I'm going to do the leaf because this leaf is pretty thick, right? And then I'm going to cut around this red image here because all of this is too much. It's just too much work for me. It's not worth it to me. So you have to pick and choose what is worth it to you, what you want in the image. See, cutting around this little flower here is not important to me, so I'm going to stop, bring it over, and stop 1/4 of an inch away from the edge. So here's my signature cut. When I put something into this opening, so you're not going to see this part of it. However, this would be, right, you would cover all that up. When you make a signature cut, you get this opportunity. Look at that. So your photo becomes a part of the image. It's just beautiful. So whenever you have beautiful images on a piece of scrapbooking paper and you're like, how am I going to cover this with a photo? You don't have to. You make a signature cut. And then you have this opportunity. So just so many opportunities. So now how do you glue this down? All right, so this, you want to treat it as a pocket, right? So when you glue a pocket down, you need an entry point, right? So this is our entry point. So you don't want to glue there, right? So you want to glue around the perimeter of the frame so that you can have your entry point. I also like to glue above the entry point so all of these bits are down and I don't have to worry about them catching on anything, right? So first let's go around the perimeter. This is the first thing you want to do, right? Around the perimeter, if it works for you, right? Because it may not work for you. And then I like to go above the entry point to secure everything into place so that nothing is catching. And let's in this case, so this project I use a few magnets, okay, and you can watch the videos of this project if you're just watching the top 10 matting ideas, okay. Again, if you're watching this on top 10 matting ideas, this project is moving parts. I can't think and glue at the same time. Moving parts page folios style 2. It'll be linked in the description box. If you're actually watching this on moving parts page folio style 2, then you're here already, right? So great. Right, so you can take a piece of paper and put it into the pocket or the insertion point. Right, so it's a little tricky initially until you train the paper to do what you want it to do and press down, right? So you can get that glue where you want it to be. You want it to be secure. Okay, and there you have it. You have made a signature cut. Now listen, I have been doing this forever, okay? And it's just a beautiful, beautiful tip or technique to have to learn so that you can have it in your matting guidebook, right? Like you should have these are the techniques I like to use when I'm matting. They're listed for you here in your top 10 matting ideas, and they're just perfection, okay? So you can always use these when you're matting. So if you get stuck, you can look at your top 10 ideas and say, all right, I'm going to do signature cuts. Where can I make a signature cut? And that'll help break the brain fog, perhaps, if you're having a hard time with your matting. All right, so there you go. So now you're going to take this out, and you'll see that what's lifted is the signature cut. See, it becomes so much easier if you just glue down the above the cut, okay? Above the cut. And this could use a little bit of glue right here. So I'm going to lift it, see that? Peel it back up. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue under here just to secure that, because it's just going to make it easier to reveal the signature cut. So just glue it down like that. If you're afraid that you're going to have oozing, you can use a piece of parchment paper to do this step, you know, so that this doesn't glue down along with the piece you're trying to glue down, right? You can always use parchment right here. And that's it. All right, I will see you in the next video for top 10 matting ideas. This is signature cut. All right, guys, so this is nice and dry, okay? Nice and dry. And we've got the magnet there. It's perfectly secure with the tape. Everything is just perfection. So you see now I have the perfect lift that I need because I glued everything above the cut down. Okay, and notice that you don't even miss this, right? You don't even miss it once you get that photo in there, because look at all of the pretty things you have to look at, right? All of the pretty things. Now, this space was for a 5x7, right? 5x7. But because I did a signature cut and I wanted to keep all the pretty paper there, it is now really a 4x6. So if you have a 5x7 that you want to use in this space, then no worries, right? You can still use this for a 5x7, and you want to pick a piece of pattern paper that you don't mind covering up. All right, so it just works perfectly.